Okay, so migration and asylum seeking. And I thought we could partly talk about it and partly run through a small section as well. So early on, just some vocabulary work because these are larger words and of course more important, such as persecution. We might talk also about discrimination. And so after we have, as a group, talked about those, there's a definition that we can read through as well. Persecution, discrimination. Some of the other words that I know are in the story, like military coup, and how that is spelt. uh, yeah, and refugee, of course, and asylum seeker. Um, and perhaps the difference between the asylum seeker and and migration or a migrant. Also, before the class, they sign up into family groups because it takes way too long to assign groups at the time, and they get to choose. So yeah, there's like a document. In fact, so I have the example document with missing parts of names, and they before the class will sign up into their session time and into a group. Gabriel was not on his own. He did end up with some people. Oh, I think I went. Hang on, let's try that again. Oh, and there's another note on there. I didn't do this, but I have thought about this. So you're actually getting a little bit like version 2.0 of this. So some of this is untested, but I thought about if some of my students in their reflections commented that they didn't feel like they had enough time to read the story and actually process it because their reading ability is perhaps a little bit lower. So I thought for B1 students or you know students that are struggling with their reading ability, that perhaps the story could be preparation to this. And that's what you guys are going to go through in the breakout rooms in a minute. So the first page of the story, you are imagining you are already a little family unit. I get them to be four people in a family. And this is the initial part of the story. So there's a dad in the family, and he's a journalist. The mum is a mechanic, which is interesting. They have recently had a baby. This picture may or may not be accurate. They recently had a baby. They have a boy and a girl at school. And Granny, you can see here, is in a wheelchair and housebound. Can't leave the house since she had a stroke. They have an uncle Alex who is very religious and was a political prisoner previously for a number of years. He walks with difficulty and has a limp since he was in prison. Mum and dad have an old car, so it doesn't run very well. Dad has been a leading figure in the local journalists' trade union, so he's in the trade union. The situation in the country has been changing quite dramatically recently. So this is the backstory. Part of the reflection that I got back was that they weren't initially aware that they were part of the family. They were kind of detaching themselves from the story. So I really, I want to situate them better into the story. So they literally are the family. Dad and uncle are listed as enemies of the state. And in the last week section, the soldiers have started, arresting people, and it's getting closer. They took away the dinner lady at the school. There's a death threat. So several, and it gets closer to Dad, who's in the journalists' union. It was announced that several union members and several unions, sorry, that trade unions, that unions in general, they're going to be an enemy. this death threat was posted under the door, and that, you know, they already know that Dad is an enemy of the state and that, you know, his days are numbered. Someone told Uncle Alex that they need to get out because someone is planning to set the house on fire. So it's building up the story of how urgent it is to leave. Then the situation as it is. So this is some good information about when they want to escape, that things can be difficult and how difficult it is. Like there are already roadblocks, and that's what the picture is. There are already roadblocks and trains are being searched. There's sound of gunfire outside. They're arresting people. It's, you know, it's getting closer and closer. And just today, the family needs to meet and discuss because they need to get out, obviously. Um, So, a little discussion, a little part of the story to get them thinking about how to get out. Like by foot, it's going to take a whole week, and there's across the forest and other dangerous country, and the military is getting closer. So this is important as well, and it doesn't spell it out here, but we're talking walking through the forest for a week and it being quite dangerous, and you can't go by the roads. The car is old anyway, so it will probably break down. So remembering, and this is where I guess I liked the classroom atmosphere, because you can remind them that Granny's in a wheelchair. She can't really go through a forest, kind of thing. And what is it? Uncle Alex, who does need to leave, has got a limp. So we're down here. This is where the 10-minute activity comes in. In their family group, decisions need to be made. So this is the family meeting. Who is going to go and who is going to stay? And how can you maybe make the staying people a bit more safe? And what to take with them. And part of the 2.0 that I'm going to mention in here was adding things like this, because the border guard's job is to keep out terrorists. And so, you know, you need to be able to prove yourself as not you and your family as not terrorists, as an idea of, you know, what they should take with them. And so, yeah, they have 10 minutes. What would you take? Who would you take? And they can have a discussion for 10 minutes and come up with some sort of a list. I have this link is a little 10-minute timer. And once they have their list, I just created a little last page to say sort of, you know, leave the breakout room and come back into the main room with a picture of people leaving a country. So that would be the shared session. When they come back into the main room, we can have a quick talk about, so they're already on their journey, I've kind of decided. Who is on the journey and what are you taking with you? So we can have a sort of a discussion around that as groups come in. So this is kind of the first part. What if I pause here and we can, let me, icky. So once all the groups are back in here and we've had a bit of a discussion, it misses out, unlike the sort of BBC version, it misses out the actual journey and difficulties and decisions along the way, which you could add in depending on what you want them to experience. Just need to put the video over there. And they're at the border. So just that it's long, it was tiring, it was difficult, it was frightening, and they're hungry and of course tired. Um, but a little 2.0 note in there as well that the border guard's job is to protect their country, and so they're not going to be friendly. They want, it's up to you, the family, to prove that you are not a terrorist or that you are, not a threat to their country. Because how do I get out of here? Yes, I have notes down below. So these are notes from the original activity. So from here, each family is given a form to fill out, and they can go back into their breakout room. How do I grab this? Copy link. I missed out on some chats. Ah, yeah. Is that the migration link, Anna?
I found it on the BBC. So I guess that's what you were talking about.
I think so. Yeah. I'm not quite sure. Oh, news. Oh, well, this was an actual activity. I'll see if I can find it in my notes somewhere. But there was an actual activity that was like a follow your own adventure
I think
story.
it is the activity because you can choose to see it through like male, female perspective. Then you choose where you are from. Yeah.
Maybe that is it. Yes, this is it, the Syrian journey. Yeah, this was pretty cool as well. I got them to do this outside of the experiential lesson, but it was kind of another experience as well. And also it was an okay catch up for those that missed out on the live class as well. So there's that form. I don't remember if it was 1 or 2 that I just gave you. No one's there. Oh, maybe one person's there. So the families are to fill out this form. This is the application form for asylum seekers. And they are told to fill it out as best they can. So the country that they're trying to get into, the native language, as it says here, you can answer the questions in English or you can answer the questions in gibberish, the language of the country. And so the questions are in the language of the country, and they just have to fill it out as best they can. And they are also told that question 9 and 10 must be filled out. They are very important for their application for asylum seeking. So they go away into their rooms and they discuss and try to fill out things as best they can. And then one family at a time go into a different breakout room, which I called border control. And so one family goes into border control and there's a border guard there. And the border guard, is very serious, and might start speaking another language that they don't know. Initially, they might speak with an accent, a different English accent, and is quite serious and quite rough and won't tolerate people laughing and things like that, and will definitely be asking about question 9 and question 10 and why is it not filled out and all of those kind of things, and will be deciding whether they can or can't go into the country. And that's after that is we're back in the main room, and I've lost my place. And the main part of the whole experience is finito. Mm. There's some notes in here about a tough and strict persona. Oh, the other thing the border guard will, of course, ask about is what they brought with them. Um, he or she is looking for evidence of weapons, like knives or scissors, or anything that seems slightly dangerous. But then also evidence that they are telling the truth, so to speak, to evidence that they are actually asylum seekers, um, such as a good idea would be to bring the death note and bring the paper article of enemies of the state and stuff like that to prove that their country, that they're fleeing their country and that they are actually asylum seekers, and told to unpack their bags and all of that sort of stuff. So after this, it can be a tough experience, but it's not of course super realistic. But it can be something that they've never even thought about before, as what people go through. So after each of these, after all of the border guard has happened, all of that border guard control, we gathered together as a whole class and really unpacked it and sorted out our feelings and things like this, about this was maybe 10% of what people would go through, and things like that, and how they felt about it. The other part, the other part outside of the Zoom classroom for this was for them to write a reflection on the whole migration experience. I can't quite see for the, oh, maybe it's this one. And these were their reflections. I don't remember who is which, but there were lots of interesting. There was a little bit of feedback that I've put into 2.0, but there was lots of comments about like, wow, this was like a transformative experience, and like um, I've never experienced anything like this before, and it was great. Being social educators, I got them also to reflect on, if they were to educate another group of people, their own future students, so to speak, what do they think about it as an activity, as an educational activity? And a lot of them said, yeah, like, and what would you change if you were to run this as an educational activity yourself? And yeah, a lot of them just went, yep, I wouldn't really change anything. Like there was nothing to dislike and things like that. Um, they became better connected to their family and like the story and things like that. Yeah, it was really good to read. So that I think is an important part of the experiential lesson, to get the students to reflect. It doesn't have to be writing, could be audio, for example, to get them to reflect on that experience and unpack it, which is a big part of experiential, of course.